Arriving home earlier than anticipated, I was taken aback by what I overheard. Oh, this instrument is truly massive, and I've indulged in it 4 times within the past 24 hours. Girlfriend, you won't believe what went down today. Its size is unbelievable, and I simply can't resist it. We went at it 4 times today, and let me tell you, I can barely walk straight. Can you even imagine? Those were the initial words I heard from my wife, and they hit me like a wrecking ball. I stood motionless outside our apartment door, stunned. Karen, my wife, had always seemed refined to me. I never fathomed she could speak in such a manner. But the real shock came when she added, "Once the divorce is finalized, I'll be swimming in money. My boyfriend's a lawyer, and he's handling everything." Wait, what? I thought she loved me. The truth hit me hard. She had never actually uttered those 3 words. She had just echoed what she thought I wanted to hear. She wouldn't expect me until tomorrow. That must be why she was so loose-lipped, so unabashedly herself. The realization hit me like a freight train as I returned home early from my business trip. A designer purse in hand, intended as a surprise for her. Little did I know, a far more significant surprise awaited me. The purse weighed heavily in my pocket, not because of its price tag, but because of the sense of worthlessness it brought. Karen's words echoed relentlessly in my mind, a vile soundtrack accompanying the designer bag. Buying her gifts had become a ritual, a treat after yet another tiresome business trip. I owned the company, and the trip seemed endless, just like her smiles. Those smiles I labored so hard to elicit. Don't misunderstand me. I adored spoiling her, reveling in the sparkle in her eyes over some extravagantly priced accessory. But now, each label felt like a searing brand upon my skin. Facing her tonight was out of the question. I needed refuge, and suddenly, only one place sufficed. The Hive, my cherished hotel with its panoramic view of the lake. I needed time to strategize. Tomorrow might be too late. As I sat at the hotel bar, whiskey in hand, I couldn't shake the thoughts of my wife's infidelity. But hey, at least the apartment door was slightly ajar. I gleaned the truth straight from the source. Yeah, I love his green eyes, but him, I love his big organ. Her words twisted like a knife in my gut. Who was this guy? That man I passed in the elevator earlier, the one who perhaps carelessly left our door open. It didn't matter, at least not in that moment. What mattered was devising a plan to salvage my company, the same company I had built long before I even met her. The plan was elusive, overshadowed by the throbbing ache of hurt, exacerbated by the too easy flow of whiskey. As if that wasn't enough, this morning brought another shock. Isabella standing in my hotel room, my high school sweetheart. "What are you doing here?" I snapped, the words scraping my throat. She blinked, then a hint of pity crossed her face. "What's happened to you?" "This is the second time you've lost it." My brain stalled in neutral. She smiled, a flicker of something I couldn't place. "Don't you remember? Watch where you're going, lady. That was you yesterday." Why was she still here? If I'd been rude twice, what was her game? Nausea washed over me. Did we? "Relax," she said, her voice cool. Nothing happened. It was almost as if she'd read my mind. "Enough with the charades. What's going on?" I demanded, desperate to dispel the odd feeling in my gut. "We must have had too much last night," she said softly. The pieces began to click, but not in a comforting way. "I have no idea what you're talking about. Sorry for being rude. It's just a lot going on right now." Her eyes held a glimmer of sympathy. "I know," she said quietly. "I'm so sorry for what happened." A shiver ran down my spine. How did she know? Did I? The words were difficult to muster. Did I tell you everything? Every damn detail? "Yes, you did," she confirmed. I must have blacked out, spilled my guts. This wasn't a tale for sharing, especially not with my high school ex. You came at me like a runaway train. Then you had the gall to shout, "Watch where you're going, lady." The audacity was enough to make me seethe. I was on the verge of unleashing a verbal onslaught when suddenly recognition dawned on both of us. Your eyes widened like saucers, apologies tumbling out as if you had swallowed a dictionary. "Anything you want, just name it, and I'll buy it for you," you offered. But hey, a girl's got to seize the opportunity. The sting of "a girl's got to take advantage" reverberated in my mind, a bitter soundtrack to the train wreck of a memory from yesterday. Isabella must have noticed the shame etched on my face. "So, the master planner figured it all out while you slept," she quipped, her attempt at humor sharp, a subtle twist of the knife disguised as lightheartedness. I was still grappling with myself. Should I cut her loose? But her voice interrupted my thoughts. "Let's talk. Plans over breakfast." "This place is supposed to be great," she added, a flicker of hope igniting within me. Why not? Maybe she could offer some assistance. Memories of high school resurfaced. Isabella had always been sharp. A fresh perspective might be just what I needed. Breakfast arrived, and I engaged in small talk to ease the awkwardness. "So what do you do for a living?" I asked. She smiled, a slow, almost predatory grin spreading across her face. "You honestly don't remember, William?" "I'm a lawyer. Corporate law, specifically dealing with companies like yours," she emphasized, sending a shiver down my spine. My lawyers were competent, but this was personal, messy. I could use her help, a thought that crept in despite my reservations. But I forced a smile. "A lawyer, huh? You did it. I'm proud of you." A rush of nostalgia flooded over me. We attempted a long-distance relationship in college, me with my tech dreams and her with law school. It wasn't a dramatic breakup, rather, it was more of a slow fade. I guess I fell out of love. I had convinced myself back then. "William, as a lawyer, I'll do my best. But as I mentioned last night, you need to carefully consider all the options," she spoke matter-of-factly, yet her eyes held a glimmer. I couldn't shake the feeling of paranoia. Was this all an act? So I cautiously began, "What exactly transpired last night?" "Refresh my memory, Isabella. I apologize for my rudeness. It was peculiar." "I met my wife," I continued, realizing I had apparently spilled my entire story. "Last night, the tale of how I met my wife." "Watch where you're going, sir," she had said. Her demeanor was crisp and polite, reminiscent of someone's old-school grandmother, but with an underlying edge. Her entire appearance, from the pressed skirt to the pearls, screamed of a different era compared to all those girls in their torn jeans. I still couldn't determine if that bump was accidental, but given what I know of her now, well, let's just say I highly doubt it. The apology, her stunned reaction to her own appearance, offering dinner. She politely declined, but her manners were exceptional. It was enough to hook me right then and there, even though her beauty alone could have sufficed. I must have been desperate to apologize, because I distinctly remember saying, "I want to show you. I'm so sorry." As if that would change anything. Isabella's voice pierced through my thoughts. "Some women know how to play the game, William. You guys can be pretty easy sometimes." She was referring to my entire narrative about ending up right back where I'd met Karen, and she wasn't wrong. I had indeed ended up back where I'd met Karen. So there you were, unpacking all that drama, and suddenly it must have hit you. Isabella knows her law stuff. You were fishing for some free advice, right? Isabella attempted to keep the tone light with a joke as she revisited yesterday's story. Listen, I interjected, I'm a lawyer, but that didn't stop your barrage of what-ifs. Her voice dwindled, a hint of irritation flickering in her eyes before fading away. I squirmed uncomfortably in my seat, the weight of the situation bearing down on me. I'm sorry, Isabella. I managed to say, I muttered, a mix of gratitude and embarrassment washing over me. So did we manage to come up with any sort of plan yesterday? I was clutching at straws, hoping she had conjured a miracle plan from the chaos of last night. Isabella's smile was both reassuring and teasing. All the plans you came up with weren't exactly viable, she said, but I'm still here, ready to help. And don't worry, I've seen worse. In my line of work, your situation is tough, but not insurmountable. Her words ignited something within me, a memory of resilience and resourcefulness from the past. Remember how I secured my first big business contract? I began, a plan beginning to form in my mind. Isabella leaned in, intrigued and attentive. You were deep into your law studies, and I needed a limited liability company to secure that contract. I was out of town meeting with a client, and you set up the limited liability company in your name and then transferred it to me. Isabella's expression turned pensive. Okay, I remember, but what's your point? How does that relate to now? I leaned forward, excitement bubbling as the pieces started to fall into place. What if we employ a similar strategy? I proposed, creating a legal buffer or perhaps establishing a new entity to safeguard the company's assets. Something that makes it more difficult for Karen to claim a stake, especially given the circumstances of our impending divorce. Isabella nodded slowly, a legal mind evaluating the possibilities. It's a start, she conceded, but we'll need to proceed with caution very carefully. This has to be done by the book, completely above board, or it could backfire spectacularly. I could see the gears turning in her head, her professional instincts kicking in. Let's review everything. Your company structure, assets, everything. We need a comprehensive picture to devise a plan. The conversation transitioned from technicalities to strategies and legalities, but beneath it all, there was an undercurrent of something more. A rekindled connection, a shared goal. Isabella was no longer just the high school sweetheart or the chance encounter from the night before. She was a lifeline, a beacon of hope in the storm that had engulfed my life. As we discussed, the burden on my shoulders began to lighten, replaced by a cautious optimism. Maybe, just maybe, with Isabella's help, I could navigate this mess. As I reflected on protecting what I had painstakingly built and potentially finding not only a legal ally, but also a chance at personal redemption in this unexpected reunion, my mind raced with ideas after parting ways with Isabella. I couldn't allow my soon-to-be ex-wife to walk away with everything I had worked so hard for. And then it struck me, her Toyota. She adored that car, considering it a symbol of her status. Little did she know, I was the one quietly managing the payments in the background. Eleanor didn't have a passion for cars. She could barely distinguish between a Nissan and a Honda. However, she recently developed an uncharacteristic infatuation with a BMW convertible, a luxury far beyond the practical elegance of her current vehicle. I've done my research, she said with a smile. You love BMWs, and as your loving wife, I want to match your tastes." The irony of her words, given her betrayal, wasn't lost on me. Piecing together Karen's sudden fixation on that convertible, it became clear to me that this extravagant desire must have been inspired by her lover. Karen had never shown any particular interest in cars, let alone such a specific and luxurious model. This sudden shift in taste felt too orchestrated, too perfectly aligned with the ostentatious statement her lover would likely desire. While I lacked concrete proof at that moment that the car was intended as a promise to her lover, suspicion nodded at me. It was a calculated guess, but all signs pointed in that direction. The convertible had to be his idea, a symbol of the extravagant life he envisioned with Karen, possibly financed by my own downfall. The notion of turning her own scheme against her brought a chilling sense of satisfaction. I might have been engaging in a risky game, but it felt like a necessary move in the chess match our relationship had devolved into. During the phone call, I had to strike the perfect balance between disappointment and excitement. "Darling, it seems this business trip will keep me occupied longer than anticipated. I'm uncertain when I'll return." Injecting a hint of regret into my voice, I swiftly shifted gears to a more upbeat tone. "But here's the silver lining. I have an incredible surprise in store for you to make up for it. I know how much you've had your eye on that BMW convertible. So I thought, why not? Let's go for it. I have a friend interested in buying your Toyota, which works out perfectly. In the meantime, my driver will take care of you with a limo service until we get the BMW sorted out. How does that sound?" Karen's response was almost overly enthusiastic, dripping with the sweetness of someone who had just been promised the world. "Oh, darling, that's incredible. You always know how to cheer me up. I'm completely on board with this, and don't worry about the trip. I understand how these things go. Just knowing I have the convertible to look forward to is more than enough for me." After ending the call, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness for the love that had once been genuine between us, now tainted by lies and betrayal. But there was no turning back. The die had been cast. I had to safeguard what I had painstakingly built from the ground up. And if that meant playing Karen's game, so be it. The ease with which she accepted the arrangement only deepened my suspicion and resolve. This was more than just a wife excited about a new car. It felt like a victory lap for her, possibly one she planned to share with her lover. But I'd ensure this victory was short-lived as I ended the call. I felt more resolute than ever about seeing this through. My goal was to leave her in the lurch, and the game was already underway. Later, I briefed Isabella on the situation. Her reaction was a blend of professional detachment and personal insight. "You know, under different circumstances, I might say this isn't like the William I know. But after everything she's done to you, it feels like she's brought this on herself," she said, her tone reflecting a mix of sympathy and pragmatic support. Isabella leaned in, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret strategy. "Since you've got the driver at her beck and call, why not use that to our advantage? We could set up a hidden camera in the apartment. It's a long shot, but if we catch her and her lover plotting against you, that footage could be gold in court." The idea struck a chord with me instantly. It was bold, slightly risky, but it felt like the right move. By the next day, the plan was in motion, a discreet operation to unveil Karen's true intentions. Once the hidden camera was in place, I knew I couldn't just sit back and wait for Karen's next move. With the looming threat of divorce, I reached out to Isabella, eager to brainstorm a new strategy face to face. I considered moving the major assets into trusts or other legal structures to effectively shield them from Karen. Isabella listened thoughtfully, nodding at the plan. "Isabella, I need a favor beyond legal advice, I ventured, laying my cards on the table. Do you remember how you were listed as the company owner when I landed our first major client, temporarily transferring assets to you to keep things under the radar? I appealed. William, I understand you're trying to cover all your bases, Isabella cautioned, her tone serious. But what you're asking is a big step. We're venturing into tricky territory here. I really need you on this, Isabella, I pushed, feeling the urgency of the situation. You've been a huge help already, but this is different. Having you temporarily hold the assets wouldn't look suspicious. Given our history, William, I know you're all about playing it safe as a businessman. Isabella responded, her concern evident. But this request is a lot. It's more complicated than just making a safe play. I know I'm asking for a lot, I acknowledged, and I wouldn't if I didn't trust you completely. We've been through thick and thin, and you've always had my back. This isn't just about protecting my assets. It's about safeguarding the future of everyone who depends on this company, our employees, their families, our clients. You're not just helping me. You're helping all of them. Remember when you helped me start all this. You didn't just act as a lawyer, you acted as a friend who believed in me. I need that friend again, Isabella. After a moment of reflection, Isabella's expression softened, signaling her agreement. All right, William. For the sake of our past and the future of the company, count me in. Let's be meticulous and ensure we're bulletproof in our approach. Once Isabella was on board, we wasted no time. The first step was transferring the company's ownership to her name. It was a significant move, but crucial for keeping the business out of Karen's reach, thanks to Isabella's legal expertise. We ensured every detail was meticulously handled to secure our position. With the legal matters wrapped up with Isabella, I finally had a chance to review the hidden camera footage. What I discovered left me stunned, yet it provided exactly the evidence I needed. In the footage, Karen and her partner were casually discussing the BMW after their rendezvous. This was a cakewalk, her partner remarked. Once we're done milking this guy, we could seriously quit the scam life for good. No mark has ever been this loaded. I'll snag the BMW, and then, babe, you can pick out whatever set of wheels you want. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a casual affair. It was a full-scale hustle, and I was a jackpot. But with this footage, I suddenly had the upper hand. It wasn't just about safeguarding my assets anymore. This could land them in serious trouble. After witnessing the footage, I couldn't wait to share it with Isabella. She sprang into action, swiftly involving the authorities. Before we knew it, Karen and her accomplice were in handcuffs, facing serious consequences. I was elated, yet kicking myself for falling for their scheme. How did I miss the signs? It turned out Karen was running an elaborate scam targeting affluent individuals at upscale hotels. Once the law intervened, their deceitful practices came to light, resulting in a slew of charges. After the chaos with Karen's scams was resolved, thanks to the diligent work of the police, I felt it was time to celebrate. So, I invited Isabella to join you for a dinner to mark the occasion with some fine dining. There was something in the way she looked at me that wasn't just friendly. It felt like there was a deeper connection, sparking thoughts of a potential second chance at something genuine. That dinner prompted me to contemplate the possibility of a fresh start with Isabella. Reflecting on our past, I realized that perhaps my belief of falling out of love back then was merely self-deception. Seeing Isabella again ignited a sense of possibility. After enduring the turmoil with my ex and her deceitful partner, I felt as though I was finally regaining clarity after what felt like an eternity. So I took a leap and invited Isabella out, not explicitly labeling it as a date, but secretly hoping it might evolve into one. Yet, amidst my excitement, doubts began to creep in. Why was I plunging into this so eagerly after everything with my ex? I found myself berating my lack of alternative ways to reach Isabella, aside from having her phone number. 5 days passed without a single word, leaving me feeling as though I had risked my company in a futile attempt to shield it from my ex's schemes. When I discovered my ex's infidelity, I had a clear strategy, but this time around, I was adrift, lacking any semblance of a plan. I had believed that Isabella and I were cultivating something genuine, but with her absence, all that hope seemed to dissipate. Left with no other recourse, I sought solace in the hotel bar, attempting to silence the cacophony of thoughts with a potent drink. Yet the whiskey might as well have been water for all the numbing effect it had. Just when I thought I had reached rock bottom, feeling utterly foolish and lost, I felt a gentle tap on my shoulder, and there she stood, Isabella, wearing that smile that could brighten any day. "Hey, I'm really sorry for disappearing like that," she began, her tone apologetic. I had to rush home because my dad suddenly fell ill. And then to top it all off, I lost my phone during the flight. It's been a whirlwind with my dad, and I didn't even have a chance to replace my phone. She continued, explaining how her father was now on the road to recovery. Once things settled down, she immediately returned to the city, still without a new phone. I took a chance, hoping to bump into you at the hotel. "I figured you might be around," she said, looking famished. As Isabella shared her story, all my doubts and frustrations began to dissolve. It wasn't that she didn't care or that my feelings were one-sided. Life had simply thrown her a curveball. Watching her eagerly dig into her meal, as if she hadn't eaten in days, I couldn't help but feel a wave of relief wash over me. We spent the rest of the evening catching up, reminiscing about old times and exchanging stories about everything we had missed in each other's lives. It felt as if no time had passed at all, yet here we were, with so much to share as the night drew to a close. I realized that perhaps this was exactly what I needed, a fresh start. Not just in love, but in life. "Isabella, I've been doing some thinking," I began, feeling a bit nervous but knowing it was now or never after everything that had happened. "I've realized life is too short to hold back. I don't want to miss out on a second chance with you." Isabella looked at me, a soft smile spreading across her face. "William, I felt the same way. I was just too scared to say anything, especially with everything you were going through. So there we were, two old friends on the verge of something new. We decided to take things slow, ensuring we weren't merely rebounding or caught up in the moment. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, it became evident that what we had was genuine. Fast forward, and life was looking brighter than ever. My company was back on track, stronger than before. And as for Isabella and me, well, let's just say we're planning more than just dinner dates these days. Who would have thought that out of all the chaos, I'd find my way back to someone who had been there from the start? It goes to show, sometimes you have to weather the storm to find your sunshine. Friends, post a comment how you like this story.